Hello, my name is BetsyLavolette, and along with my research partner, Dr. HyojungLim, we conducted a study promoting learner autonomy and intercultural communicative competence through COIL, Japan-Korea Game Creation Project. Let me start by giving an overview. I will talk about a very important point, what is COIL? Then I will explain our COIL project, including the method of our study. Then I will hand it over to Dr. Lim to talk about the analysis and results, discussion and conclusion, and then the references will be at the end. So what is COIL? COIL, or Collaborative Online International Learning, is also called telecollaboration, and as O'Dowd defined it, it is the application of online communication tools, in our case Zoom and Instagram, to bring together classes of language learners in geographically distant locations. In our case, we had learners of English in Japan and South Korea, to develop their foreign language skills and intercultural competence through collaborative tasks and project-based work. And I'll be talking about the project in a few slides. So why COIL? Well, we hoped that it would motivate students to use their second language. They would be talking with students from another language background, and English was the only language that they could use to communicate. Studies have also shown that COIL can improve language competence. It can also improve learner autonomy and intercultural competence. And in this study, we focused on the learner autonomy and intercultural competence aspects. So what is learner autonomy? Let's define it so that we can measure it. Perhaps the most famous definition is from Oleg, who said that autonomy is the ability to take charge of one's own learning. Expanding on that a bit, McCaskill and Taylor said that autonomous learners take responsibility for their own learning, are motivated to learn, gain enjoyment from their learning, are open-minded, manage their time well, plan effectively, meet deadlines, are happy to work on their own, display perseverance when encountering difficulties, and are low in procrastination when it comes to their work. So all of these are qualities and characteristics that we would like our students to gain, not only from COIL, but from their classes in general. So what is intercultural competence? Again, there are many different definitions. In this study, we adopted Lee and Sung's definition, which includes 3 components. The first is cognitive, students' knowledge of the target culture and their appreciation of the differences between their home culture and other cultures. Second is affective, intercultural sensitivity, in terms of interaction engagement, interaction confidence, and also respect for other cultures. And finally, behavioral, students' willingness to learn about the target culture or their directed efforts to engage in behavior aimed at intercultural understanding. So, focusing on these 2 aspects, we asked the following research questions. Will students participating in a COIL project increase their learner autonomy? And will they increase their intercultural competence? Let me talk now about our COIL project, including the method of our research. So in this COIL project, we had learners from Japan and South Korea who were learning English, and they communicated during the class time using Zoom and outside of the class time using Instagram or another messaging service of their choice. The participants from Kwangwon University in South Korea were in the Development of English Education program. There were 9 students who consented to participate in the research, although there were more students who participated in the project. And they were 3rd and 4th year students. From Kyoto Sangyo University in Japan, the students were in a seminar for English majors. There were 17 students who consented to participate, and they were all 3rd year students. We also had some control groups, which my research partner will talk about later. The schedule. We had 9 weeks, one of which was a holiday in week 3. In the first week, both classes separately had an introduction to the project, and then starting from week 2, we met together online using Zoom. For the most part during the Zoom sessions, the students were working together in breakout rooms in their teams of about 4 to 5 students, at least 2 students from each country. And then we also had a few whole group sessions, such as in week 7, where they presented the first draft of the games that they created, and week 9, where they presented their final drafts. The project was for the students to make a game together for learning English, and these games, if you are interested, are still available on the project website. You can see what the website looks like here on the right. The data collection for the COIL group was conducted using a lot of questionnaires. They completed questionnaires at 3 points during the COIL project to reflect on what they learned and predict what they might be learning. They also completed pre and post questionnaires on learner autonomy and intercultural competence. The Japan group only participated in post-COIL focus groups, although we won't be reporting that data here. The questionnaires for the comparison groups were similar, although there were different groups who completed each type of questionnaire. So the pre and post learner autonomy surveys were completed by students in flipped classes, which were taught by me in Japan. And there were also students in lecture and discussion classes, which were taught by professors other than the researchers in both Japan and Korea. The pre and post intercultural competence questionnaires were completed by students in lecture and discussion classes, again, not taught by the researchers. So now I'm going to turn it over to Professor Lim to talk about the analysis and results.
Thank you, Betsy. Before I share the research findings, I'd like to apologize. I haven't yet completed the analysis of the control group. However, I expect to finish it by the end of April, well before the offline conference on May 10th. I will make sure to update you with those results as soon as they're ready. Now let's begin by looking at the results of our study focusing on the COIL group. We aim to answer 2 research questions. First, does participation in the COIL project promote learner autonomy? And second, does it improve intercultural communicative competence? We had 25 participants in the COIL group, 8 Korean and 17 Japanese university students. For research question number 1, the findings were quite positive. Learners' response points increased from 144 to 160 on average. According to the results of a paired t-test, this improvement was statistically significant at the alpha level of 0.05, indicating a notable increase in learner autonomy following the COIL project. This suggests that collaborative project-based learning across borders can empower learners to take more responsibility for their own learning. Turning to research question number 2, regarding intercultural communicative competence, we observed a marginal but positive increase. Learners' responses were adjusted for negatively worded items, and the upward trend suggests growth in cultural sensitivity and awareness. The example sentence was, I find it very hard to talk with people from the target culture, with the 6 points being the most likely. However, this result did not reach statistical significance in the two-tailed test, where the null hypothesis stated that there is no change in intercultural communicative competence before and after the COIL project. If the null hypothesis had been set up for an one-tailed test, specifically that there would be an increase after the COIL project, the results might have reached statistical significance. Right down here. Although it is common practice for SLE researchers to conduct two-tailed tests by default, I believe a one-tailed test would have been more appropriate in this context. This is because teachers typically implement a specific method or technique with expectation that it will benefit learning, not hinder it. Anyhow, this is what we got from our data. Although the results were not statistically significant in the two-tailed test, we consider this a promising outcome given the short duration of the project and the relatively small sample size. To further explore any changes in learners' intercultural competence, we asked Japanese students to reflect on various cultural domains, ranging from religion, customs and holidays to pop culture, geography, and even food. This prompt allowed us to qualitatively assess how their understanding of Korean culture evolved. The open-ended nature of this task gave students the freedom to write as much as they liked, and the content revealed some important insights into their learning and perceptions before and after the COIL project. So before the COIL project, Japanese students' responses tended to be brief and often focused on stereotypical or surface-level cultural elements. We assume that they've learned Korean culture from media, mostly. For example, some mentioned K-pop or Korean food but showed limited depth in their explanations. This isn't surprising. Many students haven't had authentic intercultural experiences prior to this course. Even though Korea is geographically the closest country to Japan, and Japan is one of the most popular destinations for Korean travelers, this does not seem to be the case for Japanese people, especially Japanese students at Kyoto Sangyo University. So this served as our baseline, and it provided a useful point of comparison for evaluating their development following the 6-week project. After the project, we noted some change. Students' reflections became more detailed, and the content indicated deeper engagement. New keywords such as military, soldier, and snack emerged. They noticed cultural practices they hadn't considered before, like military service affecting class attendance or unfamiliar snack items. These observations signal a shift from simple recognition of cultural products to awareness of practices and perspectives, which can contribute to the increase of intercultural communicative competence. Through the 6-week tele-collaboration, students appeared to develop a deeper understanding of the other culture on a personal level, one that was more concrete, detailed, and relevant to their lives as university students. This is from the post-COIL questionnaire. Some students explicitly commented on how the project helped them build friendships and foster mutual understanding. One wrote that working on game creation together with Korean peers helped them experience culture firsthand, their conversation and even snack exchanges. Others acknowledged the importance of understanding traditions and appreciating both differences and similarities. So these reflections suggest that COIL is not just about language or content learning, it's about forming meaningful intercultural relationships. So, what can we conclude? First, the COIL project was effective in promoting learner autonomy by working across cultures students had to take initiative and manage their own learning, which appears to have paid off in terms of autonomy development. This aligns well with previous research by Lenkaitis and others, who emphasized that synchronous video conferencing tools support language use and learner independence. A year earlier, we conducted the COIL project in an asynchronous mode only. Both Japanese and Korean students communicated and discussed the project via Kakao Open Chat using text messages. There are advantages and disadvantages to using text messaging and video conferencing, which are beyond the scope of the present study. However, we observed clear differences, and based on our findings, video conferencing appears to be a significantly more effective option for telecollaboration, as it better supports the development of learner autonomy. We also believe that this autonomy may be linked to improved digital literacy. According to the British Council's framework, digital literacy includes not just technical skills, but also the ability to communicate in English, create content, and share knowledge. So through the COIL experience, students practiced all of this required skills for digital literacy, and this likely contributed to the increase in learner autonomy we observed. As for the intercultural competence, the data showed an increase, even though the increase was not statistically significant in the two-tailed test. One possible explanation for the lack of statistical significance could be that Korean and Japanese students already possess a relatively high level of intercultural awareness because of their shared regional history and cultural exchanges. However, given that the statistical results approached significance with a p-value of 0.06 in the two-tailed test and statistical significance achieved in the one-tailed test, we believe the findings are quite promising. Although the two countries are geographically close, there remains room for improvement in intercultural understanding. Notably, students demonstrated gains in intercultural competence across cognitive, affective, and behavioral dimensions. Japanese students in particular often focused on superficial aspects of Korean culture before the COIL, while their understanding of Korean culture became more detailed and relevant after the COIL to some extent. Future COIL projects might benefit from more structured reflection activities or targeted instruction to help students engage with deeper cultural values and beliefs. Despite this, the project clearly helped students develop their intercultural competence, and more importantly, it showed them that even with cultural differences, collaboration is not only possible but rewarding. Thank you very much for listening. We hope this project offers useful insights for anyone interested in fostering both autonomy and intercultural competence through technology-enhanced learning or telecollaboration online. So we welcome any questions and comments or suggestions. Thank you.